All right, I need to say something before we start. If you got an audio setup, it works great, it gets the job done. Don't buy something because it's new and shiny. You buy something because it's what you need. That's a general rule of this channel, but I feel I have a duty to say that before this one because Elgato dropped a handful of things. They are shiny and new. They will be tempting, but if you don't need them, I need you to stay strong with me. All right? All right. I needed to say that ethically because there are some things I will be overexcited about in this video. There have been a number of times in the streaming lifespan where there's been a monumental step forward in streaming audio. I'd say the Go XLR was the first one. First time we got multi-fader, multi-channel audio for streamers. The Elgato Wave 3 was probably the second one. First time we got sub-mixes where you could control what you heard versus what your audience heard. And I would say the beacon stuff was probably the third one. Next level, mic effects. The first time we can get 4 individual channels to 2 PCs over USB. A lot of really cool stuff. Today is, I think, the fourth one. A lot of exciting stuff here. 3 new audio devices, a completely redesigned wavelink audio software. Actually, a 4th new device, if you watch the one on the new Stream Deck Chongus. That's not the official name, but it's what I've been calling it. Separate video on that launched today also. I'll link to that down below. So much to talk about here. I'm going to focus on the juicy stuff. Let's jump in. The Wave 3, the Wave XLR, and that backpack, the XLR dock for the Stream Deck Plus, they've all got a Mark II launching today, and it's pretty much the same upgrades across the board. I'm going to grab the Wave XLR here. We're going to take a look at it. Here we go. First thing you're probably going to notice is that big old LED ring around it. Gives you way clearer feedback about levels and controls, and I think it just looks cleaner. Nice touch. And down here, you'll also notice one other little difference. One extra LED in the bottom with a little bit of like little sparkle looking LED. We'll get into what that is when we get into the software, but the important upgrades to it are all on the inside. There is an upgraded preamp. You're not going to notice a difference there. The last one is just fine, but you got a couple more dB of gain. I'm recording this whole video on the SM7B going into this right now, so you're hearing what this sounds like. But the big thing is the new effects processor built into this, meaning things like your EQ, your compression, your noise gate, all that stuff is being processed on the device instead of on your computer using your computer's resources. We'll get to why that's really important in a second because a lot is happening in here. In fact, we're going to do that right now. We're going to jump into the software. I'm going to show you what we're looking at. So here we have the brand new Wavelink 3.0. It has been completely redesigned. It looks nothing like the last one. And in my opinion, it is a massive step forward, not just for Elgato Wavelink, but for all streaming audio. They did some new stuff that's never been done. They added a ton of new features that's totally new for streamers, and they somehow made it simpler to use than it's ever been. You can see on the left here, we have our 2 main tabs. We have our Elgato devices that are plugged in and our mixes. We're going to start up here, and you can see if I plug in another device like the old Wave XLR, that pops up right here. And so I can jump back and forth between the two. You can see the old design works the same way. Here on my Wave XLR Mark II, we have all of our settings for our hardware on the right side. So on the first tab, we got our inputs and outputs, so like our microphone and our headphones. Very straightforward. If you need phantom power, you turn it on here. If you want clip guard, their new clip guard 2.0, which by the way, just turn this on. This means if you scream into your mic, it is almost impossible to clip. I tested it. I cranked this all the way up and yelled into it. 0 clipping. You'll never sound like XQC. It's very impressive. We got our headphone volume. We got our monitoring so you can hear how loud you sound in your own headphones. We got high power mode for high impedance headphones. And we have something here called direct monitoring, which I'm very excited to show you in just a second. The effects tab is where you're going to spend most of your time. Here we have all the effects that are being processed on the device itself. These are hardware effects. They're built in and they work very simply. For the most part, you don't have to really adjust anything. But if you do, if you want to, you hover over it, you hit these little levels on the right side, and you can adjust stuff. But you got your low cut that cuts out like rumbles from your desk. You got the expander, which is basically a noise gate, but like a smoother noise gate. So you don't get that like choppy cut in and out when you talk quietly. Voice tune is very cool. And that's actually what that extra little LED is on the corner here. You can see if I turn that up and down, that moves it from weak to strong there. And what that's doing is that's just beefing up your voice. It's a preset effect by Elgato that uses some compression, probably a little EQ, just to make it sound more radio-y. And honestly, if you use this, you don't really need to use the compressor. And then of course we have EQ, which you can go in and adjust yourself. I'm gonna get to voice focus in just a second, but at the bottom here we have sound check where you can record yourself. Hey, this is an audio test so I can hear how I sound. And then if you hit play, it'll play it on repeat while you adjust your settings and you can see what sounds the best. So I can hear how I sound. Hey, this is an audio test so I can hear how I sound. Hey, this is an audio test so I can hear how I sound. Hey, very cool. And this sound check persists across all the settings here so you can use it whenever you're adjusting anything. Now, all of these up here are hardware effects built onto a chip. And so they're adding almost zero latency to your voice. But for the most part, anytime you add some kind of processing to your voice, you are going to add a delay. It's called latency. If you get down here to the software effects and you turn these on or even add your own VSTs, that's where you're going to start seeing a significant amount of latency happening. For example, this voice focus one, this is an AI-powered noise removal tool. So it gets rid of the sound from the walls, gets rid of the noise from the fans, gets sort of a leaf blower sound if for some reason you stream with a leaf blower. The problem is if you turn this on, it adds about 60 to 70 milliseconds of latency. So if you like to monitor your voice in your ears, if you turn that on, you're going to hear a delay between when you say it and when you hear it, and that can completely throw you off. It's not enough that your audience will see it. You won't have to resync stuff in OBS, but it's enough to make it hard to talk. I was really bummed when I first noticed that because I thought, I really like this voice focus. I have PC fans right there. It's solving all my problems, but I need to be able to hear my voice, and I can't when this is on. Well, if you turn on direct monitoring here, what that does is in your monitoring, the voice that comes back to your headphones, it keeps all the hardware effects on, but it eliminates the software effects. The software effects is still going to your stream. It's just not in your monitored headphones, so you can still monitor with zero latency. Very cool. I found this and then I DM'd the Elgato team and I was like, thank you, this is genius. So much control over your voice. And I think the first time we actually have AI noise removal built into a device, so your PC doesn't have to be running AI noise removal while it's also trying to stream in OBS and get frames in your game. But let's go into my favorite tab, the Mixes tab. And from the beginning, it's looking a little weird, but some of you might recognize what this is. This is a routing table. Elgato finally has a proper routing table like the ones that we saw in the Go XLR and the Beacon stuff, where you can say, hey, these are my inputs, these are my sounds, these are my mixes, which ones go where? The thing is, they've done something a little bit different here. You'll notice it more if I do this. They've combined routing and mixing onto the same page. And I didn't think I would like it. It turns out this is the simplest, easiest solution. Let's create a simple mix real quick, just so you can see how this works. Right now, we've only got two audio sources. We got my mic and we have music. That way, if you want to play stream beats, copyright-free music for all your live streams and YouTube videos, route it in right through here. And I'm setting it in through my personal mix so I can hear it. And I'm setting it in through my stream mix. Now, I like to have music in my headphones a little bit lower than my stream. That way I can still hear it. I know it's playing, but it doesn't distract from what I'm doing or distract from the game. So I can set this to be at 80% while this one's at 100. And then if I want to turn it all down, I just do this. Now you can see I'm not turning it on in my chat mix because I don't want to send my music to Discord. Let's also add another channel for game sounds and regular system sounds. So we have all of our apps at the top here, including all of our Elgato hardware at the very top. But down at the bottom, an empty channel, this is where we have our virtual outputs. So we can just create system, and that's what we can make our default output for all our PC sounds. So all the games, YouTube, everything is going to come through here. We're going to add it to the personal mix. I want to hear it. We're going to add it to the stream mix, but we also want to create a VOD mix for Twitch where it has everything except the music. That way Twitch doesn't mute our VODs. So we're going to go to the plus button here. We're going to add another mix. Let's name this one VOD. And we're going to add my voice. We're going to add the system. We are not going to add the music. We don't want that going in there. But hey, what if we want one more mix? Maybe we want to record the system audio separately so I can easily cut stuff up for YouTube and have my voice isolated. We're creating a fifth mix here. This is the first routing table I've seen with 5 different mixes. We're going to name this one system only. Makes it easy to recognize later. And I'm just going to add system into it. So that's all it's recording. And you know what? Maybe this is being recorded on a separate PC and I want to send this out of the line out. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to add an audio output. And if I had something plugged into line out, I'd be able to click it here. And any of these can be used for anything you want. Maybe I don't need a chat mix because I'm just grabbing my straight up mic output here. I can plug in another Elgato device, make this headphone 2 and create a second mix for a second person plugged into a different device. Then we can add Discord in here. We're going to add that to our personal mix, our stream mix, and our VOD mix. And with any of these inputs, we can add effects. So maybe on my system audio, I want to add some EQ. That way I can make footsteps a little bit louder in my headphones. Or maybe on Discord, I want to add some noise removal so that my friend who's got a really loud keyboard, I'm not hearing that, it's filtering it out. And because we have all of our mixes and routing tables in one place, it's been simplified where there's no more unlinking your 2 mixes, adjusting the offset, linking them back together. It's just, hey, do you want to lower Discord only for myself? or do you want to lower it for everyone? And if you're real nitpicky and you want to know this detail, because I'm excited about this, when you adjust the whole channel, it adjusts them at a ratio. You can see they both hit 0 at the same time now. Oh, hallelujah. And so now that I've got everything set here, I'm going to do one last thing, and I'm going to go into the Stream Deck software. And I'm going to start putting some things on my Stream Deck Chongus here, which, by the way, new video on that. I'll link to it in the description. I've got a button to mute my microphone from the Stream Deck. I've got some buttons to turn on and off effects. I've got some faders down here to easily control my volume. I've got these buttons here to record and play back sound effects live. I think that's going to just about do it. I mean, the last thing I really have to show you is still kind of a secret, but it's something I've been testing for the last couple of days. And I'm very excited to show you more about the Wave XLR Pro. Elgato really outdid themselves. But as always, happy streaming.